The late 1960s saw the end of the high-powered muscle cars, and the oil industry and government regulations combined to bring about the onset of imported cars from Europe and Japan, which became increasingly popular in the United States. This led the big three automakers to release their own versions of subcompact cars, such as the Chevy Vega and Ford Pinto. But in what was considered to be the end of the muscle car era, a new Ford model called the Ford Maverick Grabber came in to bring some speed back to America. Yes, it is correct. Not all Ford Mavericks were pickup trucks. In a press release issued in the spring of 1969, Ford said that the Maverick would be the best automotive bargain it had ever provided in terms of features and pricing. The vice president of Ford, Johnston Ford, and the general manager of the Ford division played a significant role in the design and introduction of the Maverick in an effort to compete with Japanese imports as a domestic subcompact car. Of the big three, the Maverick was intended to rival the Dodge Dart and Chevy Nova models in the home market. With the first Maverick sale in 1970, Ford employed a number of strategies led by marketing phenom Lee Iacocca. These strategies included the introduction of 5 brand new, contemporary, and somewhat psychedelic colors: bright yellow, grabber, green, grabber blue, and vermilion, as well as a new, highly aggressive trade-in program for customers with import vehicles or even other vintage Ford models, such as the Falcon, to help trade in and obtain a Maverick at a very reasonable price, which was a smash hit in large part because of the Maverick's absurdly low starting price of about $22,000 in 1970. This led to the sale of nearly 519,000 units in the Maverick's first year of production, nearly surpassing the Ford Mustang's record of 550,000 cars sold in its debut year. The Maverick began with a modest design that included a variety of economical inline-six engines, with the most powerful being a 200 cubic inch straight six with 120 horsepower. By the middle of 1970, Ford had unveiled the Grabber trim package, which included bigger tires, fresh stripes, a blackout grille, and a few other tiny additions to elevate the car beyond a standard Maverick and give it a more fashionable, performance-focused appearance. When the 1971 model year arrived, the Maverick Grabber received the engine overhaul that stunned everyone. The legendary 5-liter 302 cubic inch Ford replaced the standard 2.8 liters inline-six as the top of the food chain. The first model year Maverick Grabbers had no performance modifications and were equipped with the standard 2.8 liters inline-six. The Maverick was now equipped with the same engine that powered the Mustang, producing 210 horsepower, nearly twice as much as the straight six. A year ago, the Maverick Grabber's 302 engine had a 2-barrel carburetor and a moderate 9-to-1 compression ratio. It was mated to either a column-mounted 3-speed manual or an automatic transmission. Yes, you read that right. In what was essentially a brand-new mini V8 Mustang, there was no factory option for a floor-shift manual, much less a 4-speed. The Maverick Grabbers could reach 60 miles per hour in about 9 seconds, and their quarter-mile time was 60 seconds. These numbers may not sound impressive on paper, but considering that the car was a sub-3,000-pound vehicle with a mild 302 engine, a standard overhaul that included ported heads, a new cam, a better intake manifold, and a new 4-barrel carburetor could really wake these little cars up. Similarly, a rear gear change could really help these little cars, as the most performance-oriented rear gear setup a V8 Maverick came with was a 3.0. In addition to the V8, the 1971 model year also added a new hood with its 2 side hood scoops, which may or may not have been functional, as well as fender decals and grabber stripes. In order to further enhance the aggressive appearance of the Grabber and create a sense of performance, starting in 1971, the Grabbers were also equipped with a killer deck lid spoiler and a deluxe steering wheel. In 1972, the Maverick was given the opportunity to celebrate the 1972 Olympics with a sprint package, which was available for a single year only. It included a two-tone paint job in white and blue, red pinstripes on the outside, a specially colored interior, and an American flag motif on the rear quarter panels. A luxurious decor option was added in late '72 and is another non-performance choice to be highlighted. This was extremely '70s and had vinyl tops, luxurious carpets, foxwood grain instrument panel decor, polished body color wheel covers, and bucket seats that reclined. In fact, Ford provided the opulent decor option as a less expensive substitute for the European luxury touring sedans. However, the Maverick Grabber's 1972 model year saw a sharp decline in horsepower to 143 horsepower and a half-point drop in compression from 9 to 1 to 8.5 to 1. By 1975, the dependable 302 horsepower in the Maverick Grabber was rated at an incredibly low 129 horsepower for the model's final year of production. The primary cause of this power loss is undoubtedly the increased need for emissions, as well as the vehicle's new, tragic single exhaust system. Towards the end of the Maverick's lifespan, a safety bumper that more closely resembled a rear battering ram was introduced, and the hood scoots were swapped out for racing stripes. Additionally, the rear spoiler was removed, and an equally large battering ram bumper was introduced. These changes essentially eliminated the Maverick's remaining visual appeal, and by 1975, the Maverick Grabber would be finished. Ford unintentionally provided a platform for hot rodders to thrive, as the Maverick Grabber, a 2800 V8 muscle car, was a killer platform for hot roaders and drag racers in particular. Despite having a limited production run of just 138,000 units, the Maverick itself would survive for 2 more years before being finally discontinued in 1977. However, there was a saving grace for the Maverick Grabber after all. As an almost Fox muscle car, the low power and numerous restrictions that restrained the Maverick's true potential almost turned out to be a blessing in disguise. It was obvious to see that the lightweight, compact car with the V8 engine installed from the factory would eventually become a prime candidate for a high-horsepower motor to be added for the need for speed, and NH legend Dino was one such individual. Don Grant Nicholson was an NH Pro Stock driver who began racing with Chevrolet in the early 1960s. He then moved on to Ford and Mercury vehicles, including a Ford Maverick Grabber in the early 1970s when the Pro Stock series was just getting formed. The first Ford to win the Summer Nationals and the NH Pro Stock in 1971 was Nicholson with his Maverick. The Ford Maverick Grabber, specifically the V8 one, is regarded as one of the great holdovers that kept the feeling of the muscle car era alive, while the outside forces were all betting against it. From government emissions to safety regulations and the oil crisis, the muscle car era was about to come to an end, and also winning 45 straight rounds in a match racing circuit thanks to Don Nicholson and a number of other racers in the 1970s. The Ford Maverick Grabber was given a really whole new lease on life in the muscle car and drag racing communities. This concludes the brief history of the V8-powered Maverick Grabber. We would like to thank everyone for watching episode Rare Cars documentary series. If you enjoyed it, please consider leaving a like and sharing it with other car enthusiasts. There are currently close to 140,000 of these vehicles on the road. For more documentary-style movies about the most fascinating automobiles in the world, please make sure you are subscribed to the Rare Cars Revival YouTube channel and hit the notification bell. Until next time, enthusiasts.